The military parade in Beijing today marked the anniversary of China's defeat of the Japanese in World War II. Joining us now to discuss is Dr. Rebecca Grant, Vice President at the Lexington Institute and National Security Analyst. So, Dr. Grant, good to see you. This is the first time that the leaders of North Korea, Iran, Russia, and China had gathered at the same event. What is the significance here? President Trump saying that the countries are conspiring against the U.S.
Yes, the first time in 66 years that we've seen these three leaders together. So it's clearly a signal that China is attempting to assume the mantle of world leadership and that North Korea and Russia are very important to this quest. But it's also a sign, I think, back to China itself to say, hey, this is a reminder of the People's Liberation Army, how it became the CCP. And it's partly, I think, Xi Jinping trying to shore things up internally. There's no question, though, also a challenge to Trump at a time when, through tariffs and other measures, Trump is absolutely asserting U.S. leadership in the world.
How does this parade, military parade, compare to previous ones? We know that Beijing spent somewhere around $5 billion.
Right. So we haven't seen a full-scale military parade like this since, I believe, 2019, so a pretty long time. And of course, there were no spectators. It was very tightly choreographed. But the parade officials made sure to paint in English characters all the names of the missiles. And they are attempting to show that they have really modernized the People's Liberation Army in all its branches. The star of the show, I think, is the PLA rocket force, which Xi Jinping is very fond of. He's elevated them, and they control not only the conventional, but the nuclear missiles. We saw not new missiles per se, but a few potential new variants going back to the old DF-5, which has been around since the 70s, but now has a new variant, and up to the more modern missiles that are medium range and theoretically are used to strike targets out in the Pacific. So this is a pretty strong display of Chinese military power. Some of it a little underwhelming. You saw some things there, whether it was the drones or the lasers mounted on trucks. I'm going to tell you, the U.S. has far better systems than what you're looking at.
How strong would you say, Dr. Grant, is this alliance among North Korea, Iran, Russia, and China? Is it as strong as they might want it to make it appear? And are there any real-world risks to this alliance on the horizon?
On the strength of this alliance, make no mistake, this Russia-China alliance, along with North Korea, Iran, and others, this is a big military danger for the U.S. I would say right now, the alliance is pretty strong. Not that these countries truly like or respect one another. I'd say quite the contrary. But look at the economic picture. It is China that enables Russia to keep fighting in Ukraine. It's China's support that enables Putin to not agree right away to ceasefire talks. North Korea, of course, very dependent on China. And I think we see here China prioritizing its relationship again with North Korea. They like that it bothers the US and South Korea and the rest of that region. Russia and North Korea also much closer ties. North Korea is giving ammunition to Russia. They've also sent troops to fight in the Ukraine war, lost about 2,000 troops. What are they getting in return? Probably some help with their nuclear arsenal, unfortunately.
So whether it's South Korea, Japan, or other Southeast Asian nations, how are they looking at this parade? What might they be feeling after seeing such a show of strength from China?
Well, I think it's pretty much what was expected. Japan and South Korea in particular, who over the last few years have formed a much tighter alliance, despite some of their own historical grievances and differences. The region sees that China is truly a threat. And other than North Korea, they don't have a lot of allies or friends in this region. In contrast, you've got very strong U.S. alliances with Japan, with South Korea, the Philippines, of course, Australia, New Zealand. And now the real wild card here is India, which has been part of this U.S.-led dialogue in the region. But of course, India's leader Modi attending the meetings before the parade and seeming to want to develop some closer economic ties with China. But again, most of India's interests really lie outside of China and with the West. So I think the region was not surprised by this display. This is why they themselves have been increasing their armaments and welcoming more alliances with each other and with the US.
So, Dr. Grant, I want to follow up on a previous point you mentioned that the alliance between Russia, China, North Korea, Iran is relatively strong. But you said that they don't necessarily like each other. Does that mean that as long as their interests are aligned, that this alliance will remain strong? Another way to say this, that if the interests diverge, then the alliance won't be as strong. Is that the case? And do you see their interests diverging anytime soon?
Absolutely right. It's pragmatic and it's based on interests. Don't forget, China and Russia do have some ongoing border disputes, and of course, the issues with China and India are clear. So yes, if their interests diverge, then the alliance will change and weaken, as we've seen happen historically. I think part of that is in President Trump's mind as he seeks to try to find some leverage for Putin to talk about ending the war in Ukraine. But really, for Russia especially, I think it's a big choice. Russia's economy is sustained on defense production and Chinese purchases of their oil. They are missing out on AI. They are missing out on so many other developments due to sanctions, which is as it should be. But it means that Russia tumbles down the list and is really no longer a major world power economically. And that's kind of the price of being close to China. Putin likes the wartime stance, and that suits Xi Jinping at the moment. And of course, I think it suits Kim Jong un as well right now.
Okay, one last point here, Dr. Grant, and this I found interesting. According to a former professor at Peking University, Yuan Hongbing, who now lives in Australia, apparently the CCP has contingency plans in the event of a Russian defeat in Ukraine. And the plan appears to show that maybe there's a lack of confidence in the Russian regime's stability. How are you reading that? What does Russia's future mean for the CCP?
Well, that is very interesting. And I think it tells you that China was not impressed with the military performance of Russia, particularly in the early phases of this war. And it's true, Ukraine, with Western help, is pretty much holding Russia on the ground. Their air power has proved ineffective, and they don't have the sophisticated, integrated, multi domain force that China aspires to. And of course, you've got China and I think everyone else wondering what happens in the event of Putin's demise at some point in time. It just tells you the lack of ongoing comfort between these two countries. They know it can go from the strong alliance that it is, unfortunately, right now, to being a much frostier relationship if interests change.
Okay, well, Dr. Grant, thank you very much. We always enjoy hearing your insight.
Thank you.